Okay. Good evening, everyone. I want to welcome you all to the Tuesday, April 15th, 2025 Tax Day edition of the Douglas Board of Selectmen meeting. It is 6:32, we'll call it. It was to order. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Once again, everyone, welcome to tonight's meeting. For Chairman's announcements, we have an employee recognition. This was submitted by our one and only Patrice Rousseau. And for the record, I'd like to read the recognition that was submitted to this office. Employee recognition, this was dated a little while, so forgive us for the delay. Jennifer rejuvenated our walking club in October of 2023. This club terminated in March of 2020 due to COVID closure. She worked hard getting all our walkers back to the town hall gym. She walked with the walking club, rallying them with support. In January, she encouraged all of the participants to keep track of their steps on a sign-up sheet. After logging all of their steps from January to August, she entered the seniors in the center into the Active Agers program, making us a top contributor in walking senior steps. As a result of her dedication and inspiration to this group, the center was awarded with a mini grant of $250 to continue the initiative of healthy aging through exercise. We were also awarded the $25 gift card to present to the senior with the most steps. Jennifer's challenge encouraged these participants and in return helped them be a healthier version of themselves. The seniors in the center received positive feedback from many of the other centers in Massachusetts, and I would like to nominate Jennifer Zifkak for going above and beyond. So nominated she is. Jennifer, congratulations. Come on up. Patrice?
You are a member of the Blue Club.
Thank you all. I love my job. I love all the seniors. It's an honor.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, it's congratulations. It's I will say I go to the post office every day and I see the seniors, the town's elders come in and out, and routinely they have smiles on their faces, and that's really because of the operation you guys have down there. So thank you for making that so.
I would like to add that because of the grant that we received, we were able to bring back our line dancing group. And it was so successful, and we welcomed so many more new seniors into the center that we've chosen to keep it with our regular state funds.
Nice.
It was a nice domino effect for two things, so a 2 for 1.
Good stuff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. On to the thing. Next, we have Highway Department donation of hazardous material. This was
Storage. We got
material storage.
Yeah. Start.
Yeah. Who's donating some green slime?
Tim, we do have insurance personnel.
Yeah. So our friends at Curaleaf and Jody Stout for the generous donation of the following items: 2 flammable cabinets, 1 compressed cylinder cabinet, 4 containment catch tanks for chemicals, and 2 ramps for containment tanks. All these products will help us to continue our goal of being OSHA/DLS compliant. So we accept those donations with appreciation. Moving on, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to something that's currently not on the agenda? Seeing as none. Matt, I'm going to tee this up to you. We've got a little discussion going on regarding some insurance for the town. Item number 5. And actually, before I do that, Rob, are you here? No? Okay. I'm just looking if there's anyone down on the agenda that we could get out of the way beforehand, but that's not the case. So, Matt, take it away.
So, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we have asked our incumbent property casualty insurer, which is MIA, Massachusetts Interlocal Insurance Association, to present us with a renewal, and we have worked with World Insurance for placing our business with fully insured carriers outside of the MIA system. We went through this exercise 4 years ago. The conversation was robust, although it was lengthy. But fortunately, I think that educated a lot of people in the decision-making process about what the moving parts are. So I know we say here on the agenda the presentation is limited to 15 minutes. And that's what we want to hold true to, is that we want to hear about what the program is in 15 minutes or less. But I don't think the board should feel constrained to having the entire discussion in 15 minutes, because you should ask all the questions you need to ask. In order for this to work out and have coverage in place on July 1 when it needs to be, we have to make this decision by May 6th. I don't have to, you guys do. The Select Board has to have a vote on May 6th, if it can, to make a choice here. For the record, I've stated it before, I'll state it again, that there are some things in the Town Administrator Special Act that authorize me to do things that I actually think the Select Board should have obtained. And the selection of a property casualty insurer is one of those decisions. So long as the Select Board is the Chief Executive Officer of the town and in charge of all of our assets and the capital improvement planning process that goes around maintaining those assets, you should have this interaction with your property and casualty insurer. You will hear about how outside people view our town assets and what they're worth and how much risk we need to manage. And ultimately, it is one of the bigger items in the budget. So the year-to-year renewals, I feel fine signing off on and working with an incumbent who's been selected by the Select Board. But when it comes time to market the business, this is a decision that you should make. Having said that, I know a little bit about the industry. I'm perfectly happy to make a recommendation if you should so charge me to after the presentations tonight. Other than that, I assume you'll take your own counsel on the matter. So we, as a courtesy, have let Maya know that they can have strike the last word and be presenter B. Presenter A is World Insurance. The broker we've been working with is Tony Booth. I think Tony's got the entire cast with him tonight. Make sure we have enough. Is everyone going to come up and sit?
Yeah, please do.
I don't need to sit here for that.
We got a question from him. Before we start with these guys.
Hold on, Matt, we got a question from the board.
All right. Are we going to have an opportunity for follow-up questions? Because tomorrow morning I may wake up and say, oh, I thought of this. So is there a process in which we could email the questions to you or to Lisa? You could get the answers and email us back the answer, as long as we don't deliberate on the email chain?
So that was what I was going to suggest. At
Okay.
the end, it's a process where if you have questions for either one, you send them to both Lisa and I, Lisa and me, and we will get the answers for you and make it part of your packet for May 6th. That will be a public document, so everybody could
But
see
we'll
what
get
you
a
have.
copy of them ahead of time.
You'll get a
So-
copy ahead of time.
Okay.
They will not be emailed to you because
Nope, that's fine.
until the 48 hours, so that you
Yep.
avoid open meetings
Yep.
problems. All right?
It's just a lot to take in one night where Tim, Helen, and myself has already been through this fun process. Some questions may come up
Yeah,
tomorrow
this-
or
to be
within the
anticipated.
next
I
couple
can't
of days,
imagine.
so
Yeah.
I'd just like to have a process in place.
Well, for disclosure, I read both proposals, and if it were in Chinese, that would have been about as much as I digested anyway. Tony, welcome.
Clock starts now, 15 minutes.
Okay, I'll talk as fast as I can. Thank you. I'd like to thank the board for allowing World Insurance this opportunity to review the insurance, analyze it, and go out to market. We've done all of those things, and we're going to talk about that tonight. Very briefly, I just want to introduce who's with me here. On my left is Jeff Delden. He's the division leader for the New York, New England region for World Insurance. To my right is John Olivieri. He's a unit leader for an office in Massachusetts. And this is Jonathan Finn. He's with DFIS. That's the insurance coverage, injured on duty, IOD. So he's going to address that just a bit at the end. So first I'd like to start and say, we, in our process of reviewing things, We are, as an independent insurance agency, we go to market. We don't work for insurance companies, but we think we can bring you a lot of value added as an advocate in the insurance market. World Insurance represents well over 200 companies in the marketplace. And actually, I'm going to have Jeff say a few words about World Insurance and what we do and how we do it.
Yeah, so I think what you need to know about us is that we are an independent broker, so we represent you. We started in 2011, relatively new company, but over the years we've grown significantly, mostly through just natural organic growth and really partnering up with key agencies, in the New England territory. And our vision as a company is very simple. We want to bring these large resources that you hear about all over the country into the local communities. We feel like that's the best combination. Meet with individuals like Tony or John, we can funnel all those resources to towns like the town of Douglas and other, commercial and personal entities. Our mission really in this company is one thing: be the best partner when it matters the most. And that's just not at this table at renewal, it's throughout the whole process. It's looking at your coverages, your risk, managing that risk throughout the whole process, even doing a 6-month checkup, and then basically keeping you ahead of the curve. And that's the key in this industry now, because things are moving so fast, okay? We are very client-focused, okay? We use our leverage in the marketplace, close to $3 billion in premium, okay, to bring not only the best pricing that you can get in the marketplace, but coverages, limits, and also different ways to insure the risk. And I think that's the biggest thing in the world. Everybody's traditional, maybe cost guarantee, but you have to start thinking out of the box now. How are you going to manage your risk going forward? And that's why we employ a lot of different subject matter experts, claims, safety, loss control, all these resources that you hear these big companies have that have these layers of bureaucracy. We're bringing it right down to the field level, as we say, locally, so you can get the benefit, no pun intended, of both worlds. So if you have to remember one thing about us, right, that's what it is. It's our large resources that we bring to the table into these local communities.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jeff.
I could go on, but we only...
And to follow up on that, I'm going to leave this with Town Administrator Matt. One of the things we do is a stewardship meeting, a stewardship report. So this is not the end. We can set quarterly meetings, at least I would suggest every 6 months, to kind of do checkups as we go along. See if anything has changed. See if we need to make adjustments. See where we're having claims and things that may need adjusting. So that's a template, a blank template we can take a look at later. Now I'm going to pass out these are the files. It's the presentation. You may have already seen it. First, I'd like to start with what we've analyzed with Maya that I want to bring to your attention. I think it's very important. First item that I found in terms of a policy error is not very severe, but there is one vehicle that is listed on your special property policy, the same VIN number. It's listed twice. It's insured twice. 2 different model years. It's the same vehicle. Very simple, but it needs to be fixed. That's number one. Number two, which is much more concerning to me, is that there's been a classification on your workers' compensation policy called ambulance drivers. Ambulance drivers don't belong on a workers' compensation policy. They belong on a IOD policy. So I picked this up on the 23-24 audit. It's costing the town a little over $17,000 for that particular year. And it renewed the 24-25 policy year also has that classification. So that's another $17,000 that was charged. My number one question is, well, how far does this go back? How many years has it been like this? So I think that's something that needs to be investigated, and I think that Maya should refund the money or find a way to give the money back, because it's not correct. And just as a point of order on that, the rate for this, I looked at the rate. It's as you know, workers' compensation, it's a rate times the payroll. The rate has actually come down over the past 3 or 4 years. So this was actually more money in the past than it's been now. So that's something that you want to take a look at. But I think that's really important. So that's $35,000 or plus that I think immediately needs to be remediated. So I want to bring that to your attention. The other thing that I did and made a change is in my proposal, I increased the value of your property by $22 million. One of the main reasons I did that is because in assessing especially the four largest properties, they're really too low. This building that we're sitting in, it's 100,000 square feet. It's insured for $129 per square foot to rebuild. I don't think you can rebuild your shed in your backyard for $129. So, having said that, my recommendation is to go to $33 million, which is $330 a square foot. Now, you're probably going to use prevailing wages, so it's not going to be the cheapest labor that's going to go into the property. So you need to keep that in mind and when you're looking at insurance values. The next property that we increased was the middle school. It's currently insured for $22 million, and I'm bringing that up to $25 million on my proposal. And the third location is the high school, from $36 million to $44 million. But this property is the biggest issue for a couple of reasons. First of all, if you were to have to rebuild this property, you've got code issues that you'd have to meet that you're not currently have to deal with, besides the high cost of labor and materials. So that was one other thing I wanted to bring to your attention. On the umbrella policy, right now you have $4 million, which is it's a $1 million base coverage with a $3 million umbrella. I'm increasing the umbrella to $4 million to give you a total of $5 million. That's across all the liabilities. So in my proposal brings that up to $4 million. I'm adding earthquake and flood coverage. I don't know why you don't have earthquake and flood coverage, but I think you should. I think it's important. And we're not in necessarily a flood zone, and that way, and because of that, you can buy it very efficiently, but it should be on the policy. I highly recommend it. We increased your computer coverage on the hardware and on the computer. It's called computer compromise coverage. That's a portion, or it's a companion coverage that goes with the cyber liability coverage. We've added that. I've added hired and non-owned auto coverage. Now, this is a really basic coverage, and I don't know why it's not on there, but if you allow one of the town employees to run an errand with their own car, it's going to protect the town if they get involved in an accident. Most of you, anybody, if there's a business owner here, you probably have it on your business owner's policy or your package policy. So, again, that's something it's not a big dollar item, but it's something I think it's a detail that shouldn't be overlooked. And a little bit later, we're going to talk, there's a couple of variations on the injured on duty policy that Jonathan Finn's going to describe just in a few minutes. Next up, I just wanted to have John Oliveri say a few words about John insures some other towns in Massachusetts, and just wanted him to share a little bit of his experience.
I won't take up much time. I think that the town administrator said you guys will have questions, and that probably be more where you can get some information out of me. But I've been insuring municipalities since the late 90s, so I was just doing the math. And let's just say it's been over 25 years that I've been working on municipalities at this point. And municipalities are very unique. There's two ways you go with them. You either go with a broker, who, as Tony had said, we advocate for you. We act as your advisor. We go to market. We figure out who is the best option, who's going to provide the best coverages for you, or you go through Maya. Now, and this is no knock at Maya or the people at Maya, but Maya is an exclusive program that if you have an issue, whatever Maya says, that's what you have to go with. If we turn around and work with you and say and come up with a problem that carrier A that you're with right now can't solve, we turn around and go and find carrier B, C, D, whoever it is. We work for you. It's not a secret. There's a commission paid to us, so we're going to get paid no matter who you end up working with. So you're literally hiring us to do whatever you want to do, and we advise you on what to do. Ultimately, you make the decision. Tony's coming up with a lot of recommendations, great recommendations, but they're not going to be dictated to you as they are in a program like Maya has. You have to do whatever the program has. So, again, I don't want to take up much time. I know 15 minutes is quick. I have a lot of other things I can add, but we can do that later, or they may come up in Q&A. Turn it back to you.
Great.
John, thank you very much, appreciate that. Okay, I'm going to run through the proposal right now, the value proposition. So if you open up your the little packet that I gave you, it starts with Chubb Insurance. It's in blue. I color-coded the different companies. So there are 4 different insurance companies that are participating in this proposal, 4 different ones. We went out to market, went to many different companies, got a lot of different responses. These companies came back with the best overall value in terms of what they're offering in coverages and cost. So that's why they're in front of you tonight. Starting with Chubb Insurance, as I mentioned, you're at $123 million of building and contents coverage. Mine is at $145. One of the things that just, if it comes back, when you bring this up, you have a conversation about this, I know the blanket coverage is going to help fill in a lot of gaps, and you don't, sometimes insured to value is not, people don't think it's important, but it allows us to get a better rate with the insurance company when the buildings are insured to value. So that's why I increased it, for that reason. Next, there is a $25,000 deductible. That's a per occurrence deductible, so that would apply. Just going to run down this very quickly. Equipment breakdown is included. Extra expense, data processing is at $100,000. There's a few other coverage extensions which are in the schedule, which is just beyond these pages. Flood and earthquake, I put $5 million to cover any flood and earthquake damage with it. That also carries a $25,000 per occurrence deductible. There's crime, public, and employee faithful performance. That's included in the quote, as well as money and securities. That's Chubb's portion of it, and when I get to the end, I'm going to break it down in a little finer detail in terms of the cost. Next is Trident Public Risk Solutions. Maybe you've heard of Trident. They're really active here in Massachusetts. They insure a lot of towns, and they picked up all the casualty. So general liability is at $1 million, and you can see the breakdowns here. Data compromise is included, cyber liability, educators' legal liability, employment practices for the schools, public officials, law enforcement, all included at the limits that you see on the right. Automobile coverage, $1 million. Uninsured motors, $100, $300 on both underinsured and uninsured motors. Personal injury protection is $8,000. That's very unique to Massachusetts. In Rhode Island, we call it medical payments, but it's not, it doesn't apply here. Physical damage is per the schedule, and here's the hired non-owned auto that I included right here. Next is the umbrella with a $4 million limit. And if you don't mind turning the page, Massachusetts Education and Government Association, MEGA. I'm sorry.
It's called trash in Rhode Island.
They do. Has anyone heard of this?
Wearing red hats.
Anyone hear of this
years.
organization? Okay, so they specialize in municipalities and educational facilities. So they are a self-insured group. They provided a quote here, and it's right here. VFIS is here. And that is the IOD portion of the coverage. And just in a minute, I'm going to have Jonathan run that down. I'm going to give you a quick breakdown of the cost. The total is $514,000. It works out to be, the Chubb portion is $240,000. The Trident portion is $109,000. The workers' comp is $109,000. And the VFIS option that I put in here is $56,000. And right now I'm going to have Jonathan, can you explain to the group about
Sure thing.
What's in the proposal?
Well, thank you for letting me speak tonight. Just to keep it as brief as I can, because I could talk for an hour about the Injured on Duty program. The version that we proposed here tonight is what we call the high deductible program, and is really designed to be a partnership between the community and the insurance carrier where both sides are taking risk. There's 3 major areas of an IOD policy to satisfy your obligations under statute. The first one is loss of life under McNamara, and that's 89E. That's for any call firefighters that you might have or police specials that might apply and receive that benefit. The obligation was signed by Governor Mitt Romney Back in the 90s, it was for $500,000 indexed for COLA. Fast forward to now, that limit is now up to over $800,000. So we would pay up to $803 for a call firefighter or police special that was killed while on the job. The second major area is your medical piece of the coverage. It's at $500,000. That's what you have right now with Maya. Mass General Law 41, Section 100 requires that the municipality pay for all of the medical bills associated with an injury on duty for your police and fire department. So we are trying to satisfy that. With the deductible, it's an aggregate deductible. What that means is once you hit that deductible, which in this case is at $15,000, all covered claims would be paid by the carrier. So how does the aggregate deductible work? There's two different options. You can fund the deductible, and then our claims team will pay those claims and do a monthly review with you on where that money went, or we can rate the bills, send the bills back to the community for the community to cut the checks for. I would recommend funding the deductible because it takes a lot of work off the desk of the municipality. The third part of it is what everyone knows this program by, which is 111F, and that's the pay portion. Okay, so under Mass General Law 41, 111F, you have to pay these people, the public safety folks, 100% of their wages without taxes. We have it at $1,500, which is the limit that you have now with the cancer presumption rider on there. It has a 60-day elimination period. Tony said that there was a little bit of concern over that. So I looked at your claims history, and the reason that I recommended going with this and reaping the savings is this year there's been no claims paid out for weekly wages. Last year there was $8,500. The 2 years, 22, 21, there was no claims paid out, and in 2020 there was $15,000. So over the last 5 years, Maya's paid around $24,000 in lost wages. So having a 60-day elimination period and making that savings for the community would be my recommendation, because you're going to save more than that.
Excuse me, Charlie, just
Yes.
one thing. So each year is a $30,000 savings from what you're paying with Maya now. Each year is $30,000 savings. So I just wanted to point that out.
Yes.
This is one quick question, because it's efficient to ask it now. So the elimination period is only on the weekly
It's only on the weekly income or the weekly disability.
not the medical expenses?
The medical expenses will be there's two separate, yeah, it's a $15,000 aggregate deductible. The reason that we do about 70 communities in Massachusetts with this program, they've really come to like this. If they fund the deductible and you have a really good year, nobody gets hurt, you funded $15,000. Or let's just say there's a small claim of $1,000. Once we close all claims, you get to see my smiling face and I give you a check back, or you can say, let's roll to the next year. So as your department heads do the good job that they're doing, because I saw that loss history go down after COVID, right? They're doing a great job. Now the town can reap the savings on the premium. If you fund the deductible, you don't use it. Some people say, oh, it's like my HSA, kind of. You can use that money. So you might get a year where it's like, hey, we're getting $25,000 back from the insurance company for IoT because, knock on wood, our department heads are doing the right thing with safety training, and our folks are being safe out there when they're doing public safety. So that is one of the big parts. I feel as though the treasurers and the finance people kind of like that. When they comes in, they're like, oh, wow, that's great. We got extra money after a couple of years here.
But what I wanted my board to understand is that we're not exposed to the medical costs during those 60 days. That's the deductible program. And we're capped at $1,500 a week, right?
Right. We will pay up to $1,500, and it's going to be the same with Maya. They can't pay an employee more than they make. So we're going to ask for all sources of income, because we understand a lot of the folks, whether they're a call firefighter, they might have a side job. So we're going to say, can you give us your pay stubs and your W-2? Because we want to make that employee whole on behalf of the town. The way that we do things that is a little bit different is I structured this for the money to go to the town. So once that employee has been out for 60 days, totally disabled, that money is going to go to you. What you do with it is entirely up to you. I've seen other carriers, they pay the employee that money. The employee is not always going to say, hey, guess what, I'm getting $1,500 a week from the insurance company. They're going to take it, and then a year goes by, now the community is in kind of a bind. He was hurt, we're paying him 111F, he's been getting money that we paid for on his policy. How do we get that money back? So that's why I structured it the way it's going to go to the town. You can use it what you want it for.
But our full exposure to the elimination period between $12,000 and $15,000.
Yeah, it depends on, like, some of the fire departments say we're not going to miss that many shifts with a firefighter over a 60-day period because of just the way that they're structured. So again, looking at your past history over the last 5 years, $24,000 is what Maya's paid out. So
That's total.
total over the last, yeah.
That's the end of my presentation. Anyone have any other questions?
Question on that 25,000. You said it comes back to the town. Is the employee getting paid in another manner for that 60 days?
No, the town's obligation is to pay an injured police officer or firefighter their wages without taxes, so you'd be paying that money anyway, so.
So the answer is that we're getting paid through payroll.
They'd be getting paid through payroll. At the end of that 60-day elimination period, let's just say somebody's out for 90 days, town pays for 60 days, now you're getting checks in from VFIS for that last 30 days going directly to the town. So it avoids the confusion between, you know.
Right, you're double dipping. I got a question for Gene. Is that how we do it, Gene?
Well, currently, there's no.
No, in the past, and
We do pay for it on payroll, and it comes back into general fund revenue.
okay, thank you.
When it comes to the wages, there's almost a demarcation line where many communities will say, why are we buying insurance to cover wages that we've already budgeted for, that we're going to pay for them if they're working or if they're out sick? And there's other communities that say, we need that money to pay for overtime, shift differentials, and shortfalls in staffing. My job is to make sure you get what is comfortable for the community. So that's why we structured it this way. If you wanted to go fully insured and pay more money, that's fine. But to me, it just seems like a great idea. Tony's like, let's just talk about the savings in the long run. People are migrating to this because medical expenses are getting higher, so you got to try to keep these costs low.
The other option is $25,000 more a year.
We'd still come in lower than.
We're still lower than Maya, but it's $25,000 more. So that's the end of my presentation. If there's any other questions or.
Do you mind if I kind of reiterate one more? That stewardship report that he just put in front of you, right? I think that is one of the biggest keys. Again, I'm going to go back to, where we will be your broker. That stewardship report holds us accountable, because what happens is, after you guys hopefully make the decision to use us as your broker, Tony's going to sit down and he's going to go through that and say, right, when do you want to see us? What do you want us to do? How do you want us to be engaged? It's not a matter of the town calling up and saying, hey, can you come out once a year and review what I have or whatnot? You're going to have a schedule, a calendar laid out for you. And if you need us to come to a board meeting, I mean, again, I've been doing municipalities for a while. I have, on occasion, I'll give you a quick story about a municipality that would have an issue over people going into the kennel, where they're keeping the dogs and whatnot. And they really shouldn't be doing that. They couldn't figure out how to do it, how to handle it, because, again, in the seat you're sitting in, you have residents who get upset, and it's much easier to have someone like myself or Tony come in and explain the realities of why they can't do it. And then, honestly, we become the bad guy. It's almost like the parent saying, listen, you really can't do this anymore type of a deal. Use us to deliver the message that's going to put the town in the best position you can from a risk management standpoint.
Thank you, Jen. That was great. Also, in the back of your packets, we do have loss control services and safety services. There's information in the back of the packet for you to look at. So we do have a number of services that we can offer the community, the town.
Any cost-saving measures? I mean, I understand the proposal appears to be lower than what we've been quoted by MIAA, but are there any trainings or programs that will eat into that cost even further if we did really get behind what it is that you guys want to see by way of behavior and
There are
policy?
certain programs, we would have to talk about what the need is.
So I think what you're asking is, the answer is no. We're going to work with you to have certain behaviors to help you save even more on your premium. It's not going to be a matter of you don't do X, Y, and Z. You're going to start, seeing your premiums escalate again. There isn't any negative impact. The positive impact is it's going to help you. The lower your claims are, the better risk you are, the better pricing the insurance companies, going to give you at the end of the day. If you keep up to date with what you're supposed to be doing on building maintenance and whatnot, you have better buildings, property insurance is going to be better than what the market is going to indicate as an average. If you turn around and make it safer so less people are falling, less people are suing the town, following certain protocols, you're going to get better liability rates. So there is no penalty if we're saying, listen, we recommend you do this, we recommend you do that. The downside is you're not going to realize the best product that you can purchase through the private insurance market.
What's the rating in the carriers they're proposing? Is
A.
they're all top?
A plus.
We don't do business with anything other than A. Unless, again, we're the broker,
Yeah.
we work for you. If there's a carrier that, you decide you want to use, we're going to disclose it, we're going to yell, listen, this is what you guys are going to put yourself, the position you're going to put yourself in. But again, it's your insurance. We're just here to advocate and work on your behalf.
Go ahead, either one of you, that's fine.
We have 4 different questions. They're relatively simple. I'll start with the easiest one. On optional coverages, professional services included 4, and you checked off nurses, speech, occupational and physical therapists, athletic trainers. Nothing for social workers, psychologists, registered counselors, or EMTs. Is there a reason for that? Is there something that we should be considering on that? And what jumped out at me was the EMTs and maybe counselors in need in the school system or something like that.
Just find that.
BFIS could pick up the training for your firefighters and EMT. BFIS has many of their classes which are online as well as in person, so they'll offer.
Yeah, that's not what I'm asking, though.
Yeah.
There's a reason, these boxes aren't checked off. If you want, I'll give it.
Yeah, I think the reason is we looked at all the different exposures, so it just may be that it wasn't, the following coverage, they're excluded, right? There's no way up what, there's no ski areas, there's no golf courses.
No, the bottom 3, I think it is, 3 or 4 that are on there. There's no X's in the boxes.
This box here, okay. Social
So you got X's on
You
nurses?
employ social workers or psychologists or registered counselors?
No, well, we do have EMTs,
EMTs are going to...
and I don't know about the other ones.
So the EMT coverage is going to come under a different area.
Okay.
It's not going to come under this, under
All
general
right,
liability.
so as far as the counselors or psychologists or anything, I have no idea what the school department may employ.
Right, so
I have
we
no
have,
idea.
we have specific professional liability for the educators. We also have it for law enforcement, which is going to include the EMTs.
Yep.
So this is a different, coverage, doesn't apply to that.
Nope,
We do
that's
have
fine.
professional liability. So, thank you for that.
Yep,
You-
I don't need that back, I got another.
Oh, you
copy.
sure you don't want it back?
You gave me a whole nother packet of the same thing, so once you answer the question, I'm good on
Do
it.
you have a second question?
I have 3 more.
Okay.
Another one on the optional coverages, you have under the unmanned aircraft, which I would assume is the drone, because it's under 25 pounds, you have a $25,000 limit. Is that for the device, or is that for the damage that it causes?
That's for the device itself?
25,000 is for the device.
So what if somebody's flying it and they're out of control and they take out the administrator coming on the Depot Street and he crashes into something?
That's your liability coverage.
Okay.
Liability,
All right,
pick that up.
so that answers that. Limited pollution coverage excluded.
Yep.
What
That's
is
a
that
common-
for?
That's a common exclusion for pollution.
So one of the things that I would recommend if we go forward is, and to Tony, what Tony just said, it is an automatic exclusion on all policies. They have a little bit thrown in, but if you have any of those exposures, which some of the municipalities that we insure do, it's a separate policy that you would get in order to insure that, whether you're insuring tanks or anything along those lines.
Well, I'm just
Oil
looking
tank.
at this particular building, close proximity to the abutting properties, right? Is that what that's for? Pollution for abutting properties or for our own?
No.
Your own, anything you cause.
Okay, that we cause, but it migrates into the neighbor's yard?
Yes.
Okay, but it's excluded, so that's something that we should
It's
consider.
definitely
right?
something you should, and I'll tell you right now, some communities do it, some communities don't do it.
Yeah, well, we're recovering from something, so it's
No,
fresh in my mind.
Listen, it's something we're going to recommend to you.
Yeah?
So,
Okay.
your decision ultimately.
And I have no idea if Maya has it in there, so it's something I'll ask him. 2 more, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman. Trident, provide customized products and programs. What is that?
They have additional programs that they can offer. I don't have a list of them here.
It's basically loss control.
Yeah.
That they can offer or they do offer?
They
do.
do offer,
Okay.
and it's up to you guys to take
All right.
advantage of it. If
Nope.
you want
It's
to,
automatic.
do trainings,
Yep.
And
et cetera.
it's part of the purchasing the insurance.
So,
But excuse me, that training's not tied to any sort of cost reduction?
No.
Meaning if we were to get behind that and say everyone's got to take the following online courses, and we'll see a 2% return on.
No, there is no rebate aspect to it where, and that's probably not the right terminology, but it's not where you're going to turn around and say, listen, if we do this, we're going to see a 1% reduction in our liability premium or whatnot. The end result is if you do it and it's working, your losses are going to be less, you're going to receive it. But it is also something that we can use when we're approaching different underwriters to say they have this in place, that in place, and it does factor in, but it's not a specific correlation to you do this, you're going to get 1% savings.
Okay.
All right. Similar question, but it's not geared towards savings. Do you provide any loss prevention devices or equipment, such as leak detectors and whatever else that would be beneficial to the town?
So
I know we use them because whether it's the administrator, facilities director complaining that the beeper's going off at 2 o'clock in the morning because the janitor moved the sensor.
yeah. There is no specific program that says we're going to reimburse or provide you with these devices.
Okay.
But what I will tell you is on the MEGA program, which I've been successful with some of our other communities, they did start a grant program over the past year and a half, 2 years, and they basically, if you can apply for the grant and say we want to buy, I'll give you a perfect example. Town of Middleborough said we want to buy a drone, because if we use this drone to check the roofs, we don't have to send people up, and that's going to cut down our risk. They applied for it, Mega reviewed it, and they said we're going to reimburse you 50%, whatever that costs. So there are opportunities to get some money out of the insurance company.
Yeah. Tim already touched on the training, so I'll skip over that. Is there any rewards programs with your group?
No. I know Maya has a rewards program.
Yep,
but
that's why I'm asking that question, right? Is there any discount to pay it in full? This is my last question.
Yeah, I was thinking,
Any discount to pay it in full at a certain point? No.
no.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Les, you have any?
Yeah, I just have a few. So you're going to provide a whole list of all the assets, the property liability, each one broken out line by line?
As far as the building,
Buildings,
everything, yeah.
vehicles, everything else?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. That's part of the policy.
And I just, on your cybersecurity and data comprehensive, how are you guys defining the first-party malware?
That's, I'm not sure exactly how they define it. I'd have to get the definition for you.
So I'll tell you what I think. I think first party means something we do, us, with clicking on a phishing attempt. So that's our first party, so we do it to ourselves. Third party is a vendor of ours that has access to our systems or that we have access to, gets hacked, and the hack of their software spreads to us. So when we talk about third party and cyber risk, it's anybody, so like our general ledger program is Munis. Munis gets hacked and then they figure out a way to use cookies from Munis to spread the virus to us. That's what the third party malware is, because we weren't directly attacked, Munis was. If we're directly attacked. Which leaves the question, what is the second party?
Correct. No, I just want to clarify that. Also, underneath your uninsured motorist, you guys have only a minimum per incident of $100,000. You don't have a min and max for that?
When you say, you talk about under and uninsured motorists?
Uninsured motorist.
So it's $100,000 per occurrence, and it's $300,000 per aggregate.
Okay.
So they'll pay up to
All right.
3 $100,000 claims in a policy year for each coverage.
All right, that's what I was looking for. It wasn't in the initial copy.
Under that, the medical, under your auto, medical isn't covered. Is that because it would be under workman's comp because it would be an employee driving a vehicle?
This is third-party medical.
Okay.
It's
All right.
the injury, the personal injury piece. That's the way it works.
Well, no, to your point, you are correct. It basically, you have 8,000 in PIP, which is unique to Massachusetts. There is a med pay option, but keep in mind, if anyone gets hurt while they're driving they better be, I'm assuming they're supposed to be driving because they're supposed to be working, so at that point it goes over to.
And that's how I had taken it. I was just making that point because it was said it was excluded that was on there.
Yeah, I just wanted to be, so
Yeah.
you're referring to the actual driver of the vehicle, that would be workers' comp. Exactly
Yep,
right.
yep.
And then as opposed to the third party, which would be the other person
Mm-hmm.
involved.
Thank you. Sorry, Les.
And just underneath, you guys have your, underneath there, data compromise liability. You have like ability to any type of data protection or data loss of data. So we're on the hook to have both hard copies as well as files, like e-files. Is there any coverage on that? Or
My understanding that is included. That's my
Are
understanding.
you saying if
if it's a service, yeah, no, yeah, exactly, recreation, and, you know, if you lose a server and it's got the last 5 years of data on it, and all we got is the paper copies.
And you need to figure out how do we get all that back now, right?
Correct.
Put the puzzle back together.
Correct.
Yeah, no, that's included in there.
Okay. I'm good.
Volunteers covered in any sort of injury while volunteering. The reason why I say that is
Yes.
we have people that will go out into the woods to look for X, Y, and Z.
Yes. They're volunteering
high school
on
kids doing
town,
car wash.
on behalf of the town or on town time, however you want to refer to it as, yes, there is coverage.
There was coverage there.
That's a really good question.
So, yeah, it
Most
was,
towns employ volunteers for one reason or another.
yeah. No, and we have some good ones, and they're often out in the woods and doing various
Well, a lot of
things.
the work that gets done is volunteers, whether it's
Yeah.
what we're talking
There's
about,
five
what
of
you
them
guys are
sitting
doing,
here.
and, I mean, there's a lot of them. Again, my point is, you bring us in, we can add as, you know, we provide support. We can turn around and do stuff that, you know, a lot of times people don't think to ask, but, you know, the way I look at what our role is let us know what the problems are, and we'll help you. We'll help you solve them.
And you also get a team, all of us.
So you're, to truncate this down, your insurance costs us a little over $500,000. You've increased the value of our buildings, right? You provided A-rated insurance companies. It's not like we're, I don't want to pick on a particular green Geico or anything, but we're not doing that. We're raising the bar in many respects, and maybe taking a peek at insurance differently. Explain the per claim or an aggregate claim for me again. How does that?
Every time there's a claim, a dollar amount would apply to it. As opposed to aggregate means when it hits the aggregate, that's the end, that's when they can.
That's their stop loss.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what my father told me when I started. You get a bank account, it's got $3 million in it, that's your aggregate. The withdrawal slip says a maximum of $1 million at a time. That's it. $1 million, that's all you can take out this claim. You can keep going back until the $3 million's gone.
So then you had to get a job in insurance.
I said, oh, I understand that. He said, good, here you go. His pen, his desk, start working.
Go to work.
And deductibles are increasing from where we're at, the same?
My understanding is that it's only a property deductible. There's no deductible on any of the life. Well, there is some, if you look at the schedule, you'll see that there are some on the professional liability where these are actually claims-made forms, but there's a number of them there that have $10,000 deductibles. The general liability, no deductible. The property, it's $25,000. My understanding is that it is at $25,000.
Right now.
Yeah, so that's the same.
Okay.
That's the same. I was actually, I think in the past, many years ago, it was lower, but it's recently gone to 25,000.
That's pretty standard now.
Yeah.
Just everything's proportional. The values of buildings that used to cost you $500,000 now are costing you $1.5 million. So, you know, you could keep that small deductible.
You're back to the shed in his backyard.
Well, you know, I have to tell you, that this building, I think $129 a square foot. I mean, it really should, $12 million does not cover this building at all really well. It really needs to be
I got
increased.
a question on that, related to that. I'll see what he's gonna do.
Now, I know there's going to be, it could be a response. Well, it's insured on a blanket basis. I think it needs, all the buildings need to be insured properly.
All right, so getting back to your values, what do you have for personal property in this building?
I don't have that schedule with me, but it's all part of the 145 million, which is on a blanket basis. So there'll be some flexibility, you know, in terms of what you actually claim.
So tell me what that 145 blanket means.
All the property, all the buildings, all the personal property, so everything. that's
So
not-
added up, it comes to 145.
Exactly.
But each individual thing has its own value.
Schedule.
So what we're going to be looking for between now and May 6th is what the personal property for this building is, right? And if we were to increase the value of this building, how does that affect our rate?
It's already built in.
No, and that's not what I asked you.
I'm sorry.
If we increase the value of this building, if you're at $330 a square foot, that's what you said a little while ago.
Right.
If that increases to $350, does it change your premium?
Yes. I think what Joe's saying is, listen, 129 we know isn't right. 330 is better than 129.
But it's still not right.
But 330 isn't right realistically.
Correct.
If you're dealing with prevailing wage, which I'm assuming all you guys know, you don't have an option.
Office space is going for $550 a square foot.
Yeah.
The general storage building is going for $350 a square foot.
Prevailing
We
wage
just
on a
went through
building
that.
like this is probably closer to $600 to $700 a square foot, which you're going to have
In
to
this
pay.
type of building, yes. Yeah, I agree.
So to your point, if you want a real number, yeah, that is going to increase it because they're going to be providing more coverage. They're going to have to pay out more at the end of the day.
Yep.
And to Tony's point about the blanket, yes, they sometimes say, oh, well, you have a blanket, so if you have 120 million, even if it costs you 70 million for this building, you have enough in total. But there's provisions in the policy that don't allow you to do that. They'll come out and say, listen, you weren't even close to being insured where you were, whether it's Maya, whether it's Chubb, whether it's anybody, and they're going to say, sorry, you're going to get penalized for that.
Right.
So, you have a little wiggle room with a blanket
Right.
policy, and I
Not
won't
that-
get into the
yeah.
details.
No, I know that, but-
yeah, you want to be closer.
I would like to add, just like I mentioned earlier, when we move in that direction, it allows us to go back to the insurance company and try to get a better rate, to sharpen a rate, because we're insured to value. It makes a difference to the insurance company. So that's our job, that's what we do,
Yeah.
is being able, puts us in a much better position to negotiate a better rate.
So the only money that would potentially could come back is through him?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm good. Thanks.
Anything unusual under acts of God exclusions?
I guess.
It's all industry standard, pretty much?
Yeah, it's all industry standard. I think that the earthquake and flood is something that you got to make sure you have that. And it's
Big
built into
major
this.
exclusions are earthquake and flood.
Yeah.
The rest of the stuff that's included.
Civil
if-
disturbance?
You can get.
It depends what it is.
Stuff like that, but.
Who's disturbing what?
The ladder truck is a 2005 ladder truck. Something catastrophic happens to it. How do you value that?
It's going to be replacement cost, as long as it's within 10 years, as long as it's not more than 10
It's a
years.
2005 ladder truck.
It's a 2005.
2025 today, so it's 20 years old. Something catastrophic happens to it. It's in good shape now, it works. How do you value that?
Well, so you're going to have two options. It's ultimately going to be your decision. So you could turn around and.
I want a new one.
You want a new one? Then, no, seriously.
Well, you said it was my decision.
No, it's your decision. So then we'd have to go to the carrier, honestly, and again, we advocate on your behalf. We would go to a carrier and say, listen, can we get replacement cost on this? And we try to negotiate it. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. That's going to be a very tough negotiation because I get it. You're looking at it, we're looking at it from like, listen, we have a perfectly functioning 2005 ladder truck. I know what a new ladder truck is going to cost you guys. It's going to cost you guys a fortune. So we don't want to have to do that. But
Right.
you've depreciated it off the book, so that's the kind of the argument you have to have with the carrier. Is they're saying, well, listen, they've already got the value out of it. If the thing just died, which eventually it may end up doing anyways, they're going to have to buy a new one.
If it died.
Right.
But we just put up a big industrial building, storage building with 50-foot panels. Comes, slaps it like a fly.
Right. No,
That didn't just die, that got killed. So
right. No. But,
how you would value that? I'm just curious as to what it is. And I don't expect you to expect
standard
anybody
answer is
realistically to
if
give you a
that-
brand-new truck for a 2005. But at the same time, if you go on a muni bid and somebody's advertised one in Pennsylvania for $2,500, that's not what we're looking for, right? So
We would negotiate.
Your enterprising town administrator would sue the owner of the building with 50-foot walls for negligent construction.
As long as he wasn't under that wall when he came down with the truck.
No, but that's a fair question. So actual cash value, let's assume not assume, we know it's over 10 years old, so you're not going to get replacement costs. But you're going to get actual cash value. And forget about the $2,500 one on.
Right. Yeah, I'm just, that's a fictitious number, but they do have very low
and say,
prices.
listen, what would I have to pay to go get this from another community? Now, if you're going to have to pay, let's call it 1.5 for a brand new one, but even though it's 20 years old, you're still going to have to pay $1 million because there aren't any out there, and that's what the going rate is. That's actual cash value.
Okay.
They're not, and maybe if you're saying, are they just going to say, listen,
It'll be a battle, I get that, but
this thing's
gives us-
80% depreciated, so we're only giving you 20%? No, it may be 80% depreciated in the book, but realistically, it's what's the cash value? If the cash value is there aren't any out there, so you're still going to have to pay 70% of the value of what replacement cost is. Pay 70%.
A real case is the grader.
He's got a fixation with his grader. I think he always wanted one as a kid.
Has tremendous amount of value to the industry because it's in good shape, doesn't have a lot of hours on it, and graders are really expensive. But sitting there, how old is it? 12 years, 14 years old?
All of that,
Yeah.
But anyway,
I'm assuming
But that was a
the
good answer, yeah.
values would be in a breakdown anyway, as far as vehicles and...
You're going to get schedules. You're going to have a
Right.
schedule of vehicles, schedules of equipment, and what they call a statement of values for, I forget who asked it, but all of the real property. Okay, yeah.
And that's coming prior to our next meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, cool.
I only have one question.
Go ahead.
It should be short, 'cause it's a mechanical question. How does the umbrella policy work? So let me give you nightmares, town administrator nightmares. We're at the front of MCAD. We have a deductible under your proposal. Then we get into what's covered, and then it's a limit. But let's say the claim is decided by MCAD and it's over the limit. Is my umbrella policy available for that, or is that completely excluded from the umbrella coverage? The $25,000 cap is not very high for an MCAD claim. So our job, obviously, is to not have those, and to train to avoid them and to work hard. But let's say it just happens. Brand new supervisor, we did, now we're in trouble.
Right. So the answer to that is you're right. It doesn't automatically jump off to the umbrella policy. So what we'd have to do is have a discussion on how do we increase that limit. You'd have to get a separate excess for that.
Separate excess.
Yes. Now,
So the excess covers what then? I guess that's the flip side of the same question.
Gap, you cover the gap.
when you say the excess, meaning what is the umbrella covering right now? The umbrella, it's covering over your automobile policy, your general liability policy, certain aspects of profession.
So all those kinds of claims, except those that are itemized out with separate
Correct.
limits, supplements.
Supplements, yeah.
Except the supplements are separate.
What's MCAD?
Massachusetts Commission Against Discrimination.
Yeah.
Alive and well, unfortunately. But
They're getting more.
Not, yeah, not
We
as-
digress.
Not,
Yeah.
not as much as
All right. Good. All right. Good question. Ross, you good?
I'm good.
Hal? Mike? Les? Good. Well, gentlemen, thank you for giving us a lot to think about. And I know this didn't happen overnight. This took some work to get done, and that's appreciated, so thank you.
Before they leave, can we give them an expectation for follow-up questions, a timeline, next Friday or whatever, to give them time to respond, whatever? What are
Yeah.
you thinking? I just want to be fair to them, give them plenty of time to respond to us. I don't want to just leave it open and we
You want to
wait
make sure we can respond to you in time, too, because you have to make a decision, I think.
No, correct.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, so.
Right, that's what I'm just trying to establish a timeline, so then you guys leave here knowing what, all right, they didn't give us nothing by the 15th, so I guess we don't have to worry about it, right?
So we'll get questions tomorrow?
I think maybe
Maybe, it's possible.
Maybe by
sounds
Friday?
My medication kicked in, you could have them tonight.
The answer is, when we get the questions, how quickly can we turn
How
around?
about next Wednesday?
Like next Wednesday. If the select board can get questions to me at least for Wednesday.
Get 2 days.
72 hours?
48 hours, 2 days, we'll get back to you?
As long as we have
Well,
them
As long as we have them by May 2nd when we post the meeting.
But as soon as
You don't want to wait till May 2nd for us to respond.
Yeah, no.
How far in advance of May 2nd, let's work backwards. How far in advance do you want the answers to your questions so you guys will have time to digest it?
So I'm going to answer for myself. My thought process with this is there's only one set of questions that are going to go to you, not going back and forth with 47 different things, right? So to Matt's town administrator's point, May 2nd, right? You give it back to us, we have the weekend, we look at it, we get it all in our head, and then on the 6th, we make our decision, right?
Perfect.
If we have it too far in advance, it's just, you're presenting opportunity, and I don't think that's the right thing to
That's
do.
perfectly fine, that will work.
Yep.
And we'll make sure we get back to you within 2 days, 48 hours.
Can you agree with that, Mr. Chairman?
I think that's fine. Yeah. So, very good. All right, thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good night.
Good night. How you doing? Taking all my stuff? I know, we got like 47 copies. No,
Yeah, there's no one, yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, Keith, you walked into a bad meeting. So, it's the price of public service.
Yeah, that's right.
Hello.
Hey, David.
Sit.
David, how are you? Good evening.
Get to pick where to sit. Great. Good evening.
Thanks for
everyone
coming.
doing?
Good, thank you.
Great. All the lifesavers are gone?
No, there's.
I don't need anything. I saw them passing out when I came in.
Yeah.
No. Thank you, though.
But Les was pretty quick to give away Hell's Candy.
If it makes everything sweeter, it's fine.
So, David, thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
We did put 15 minutes. Would like to hold you to that. We will follow up with our own questions that may extend well into the night or may not. But
Well into the night?
I
All right.
give you the floor.
Great.
Don't get Keith excited. We might have to go buy him a coffee.
No, thanks again for the opportunity, to come out. Maya developed a renewal proposal for consideration based on what we know, any changes in exposures, claims experience. The Maya program also in the number includes the Injured on Duty program, which is indoor. The Maya program they sponsor is with Chubb. The deductible is on the property. It's on a per occurrence, per claim basis. Your blanket limit right now for the property is at around 132 million, of which 80% of that limit gets associated with the school buildings. As we talked about in the past, the school is where most of the pain point is in terms of property-related claims, as well as their frequency in the workers' comp space. The auto piece is there based upon any updates and changes that we have. Your liability limits are the 1 million, 3 million, 1 million per occurrence with a 3 million aggregate. The umbrella of 4 million extends over those limits of liability. So for any one occurrence, there's a $4 million limit and a $7 million aggregate, which is the policy aggregate for the year. You have school board liability, public officials, and law enforcement, which is the 1 million, 3 million. Again, the excess or the umbrella sits over those limits as well. Your retentions for those claims are at $7,500. There's cyber liability built into the general liability form. There's a $1 million limit that sits there. Your deductible there is at $7,500 as well. And then
the workers' comp is statutory in Massachusetts. We're at $1 million per, that there, and the umbrella extends over that. The auto, those vehicles that are eligible for replacement cost are still on that schedule. Anything older than 10 years is no longer eligible for replacement cost if it had it, but that really, pertains to your DPW and your fire apparatus, for the most part. The schedule should know what vehicles are at, that are at replacement cost. Under the IOD program that's built in here, we, each year, we adjust the accidental death and dismemberment limit. So you have a consistent limit here under the IOD program, $787,000 if you lose a firefighter, police officer in the line of duty. That's for both career folks and your volunteer folks. Your medical limit under the program is $500,000 per person per accident. We have a weekly indemnity limit, which is lost wages, up to $1,500 there, and that's applicable as well as with the cancer presumption now that for firefighters, the town is obligated to take care of the medical wages when they are getting treatment there. I have this exhibit that kind of passed out. I'll go this way, no, that. This is, as you guys know, Maya's been around since 1982. Douglas has been in the program since 1990. Excuse me, 1994. This, in my cover letter, kind of shows you, I kind of summarized what the credits were, and then I took then I broke it out based upon the policy year, just kind of a snapshot over the last 10 years with us. So between credits, rewards, and dividends, Douglas has earned back just over $271,000 in credits. And just in a 6-year period, I went back quick and looked at the Maya Loss Control Grant Program. You've earned about $41,000 back in grants in that 6-year period. Maya really focuses on bringing not only an insurance product, to the towns and cities that we work with, but also added value in terms of the risk management program that we provide to the folks, the training services that you guys take advantage of, the resources that we bring into your facilities in terms of those sensors. I know sometimes they work well, sometimes they're more of a pain, but Maya's really committed, to the communities that we work with. There's a long-term stability, with the program, and there's added value. You have a employee assistance program with us. You guys are partnering us with our unemployment program, which is exclusive, to the Maya members. To really get into questions that you folks may have, for me, so.
Price tag, we at the 574,486 mark?
Yep, 574,486.
So that number, I believe, was lower than we originally thought it was going to be. Maybe that was over-aggressive budgeting, but did that come down from the last time we spoke?
It did come down about 3.5%. It made an adjustment on the deductible and went from 25 down to 20 on property claims. In this, that number includes the Chubb premium. You typically take advantage of the prepayment credit, which is a 2.5% credit. So that's additional there. You'll see in that exhibit, Maya declared some additional credits this year, two additional participation credits. They're outlined, like, they're just over $12,000 for each credit. It just got announced at the annual meeting and at the last board meeting, plus the workers' comp dividend. So there's additional monies that will lower that down. There was also a invoice packet that went out, I think, late on Friday. You probably got it on Monday. It kind of outlines, there's a credit balance that the town has right now. Without any of the invoices, there's a credit balance around $50,000. And not taking into consideration the prepayment credit, that number can go up. If you look at if you turn the page to the back of this, the My Rewards section on this, the only number that's not firm is the FY25 Maya Rewards credit, because the town has the ability to still earn credit up until mid-May, should you choose so. So Ed Dorgan, who's the assigned risk management advisor, works with Lisa, Adam, and a few other department heads to kind of, you can see over the last 3 years where your number has come in the mid 15,000. So there's some additional credits or dollars that you folks, I would anticipate you seeing should you continue to work with us on that program. That program is twofold. You get to see the immediate result because you see the dollar amount, but the training and the risk management best practices that the town has implemented has controlled claims, has improved morale. So it's tough to quantify what that value is to the town, but there is a significant value there. As we talked about in the past, property has been your pain point. As I said, the school is where the high value of the buildings are. Over 80% of the building value is there. So we want to focus our attention on what sort of capital campaign do we have to address those issues, because that's not going to go away with, because we still see claims coming from the school department, specifically on the property side. And it's not just one building. It seems to be, they all take a shake at it.
So the price went down, the deductible went down. The opportunity to save even more has always been there. That runs contrary to my understanding of insurance, though. Why would the total cost go down if we're actually reducing our deductible?
We're evaluating it based on the claims experience. So in fiscal 22, 23, and 24, we developed action plans. I don't know if any of the board saw those, but we would spend time with Matt. Ed and I would come out, review those. This year, I was glad to see that there was not an action plan developed, and that's based upon the claims experience. As we said, this year, the claims went into the renewal based on 2020 to the first half of 2024.
The 574 number does not include the prepayment discount?
Does not. Because I don't have the split of what the IOD premium is, the Chubb premium. I can get that, and then we can see what that is, but it's 2.5%.
Chubb last year was 91,000.
Yep. The Chubb number came down as well.
Couple questions.
Go ahead.
You have student/volunteer accident not requested, so they're not covered?
No, so we are, Courtney did reach out to us for a quote. We are preparing a quote for the student accident coverage. This is, student accidents are covered under, take that back. So your students, liability-wise, if they get hurt if they get hurt in a building, there's medical coverage for a $5,000 bucket limit, that we're going to cover them for their medical bills if we're at fault. The student accident piece covers them if they're going on a field trip, they're playing in a sport activity. So most communities look to provide coverage for the students. You can do it on a voluntary basis, or the school would buy a policy that covers for those types of injuries. It's med pay. So
And the
like
reason why I asked that is the graduated class has a habit of having car washes and stuff. Are they covered if they were to get hurt at this car wash
they would,
on town property?
again, we would evaluate it. Again, it's going to be excess coverage. Mom and dad's health insurance is going to respond first. It typically would come under the med pay bucket. It's sponsored by the town,
As being a
sponsored by the
mom or a
school.
dad, that's a school-sponsored activity on town property.
Yep.
Why isn't the town covering?
No, they are.
And Johnny
But
and
it's-
Susie.
They're covered.
It says not requested.
Student accident coverage. The students are covered for things that they may do. If they damage my car,
Oh, okay.
there's coverage for that. If they scratch
So they're
it,
covered under the scenario that.
they're covered under the general liability policy.
The cost thing that I want to ask him about. So Tim's already touched on the fact that the deductibles dropped, your coverage went up, and your premiums lowered, which is confusing to me as well. To date, this year, you have, we paid out $492,796 plus 91,135 to Chubb, which is 583,931. Then if you put in the discount, because finance director likes to get all the coupons cashed, 15,108, that brings us up to 599,039
For the current year?
for the year that we're in, fiscal year
So
25.
yeah, so right now, when we invoiced you without any changes, the policy when it came into effect for the Chubb and Maya was 596, 593. If you made any sort of endorsement activity, those will get processed throughout the year. We just processed the batch in March, so that was reflective in that endorsement packet.
So, but we dropped down to 574,
Correct.
a difference of $25,000.
Experience.
Roughly 22,107. I did the math earlier. I'm looking at what we presented.
599 minus
No, I'm not looking at-
574 is
Nope.
25.
I'm going 596, but I'm not going to argue with you. I'm looking at the number that I presented. I don't know what you're looking, I don't know where you get the 599 from.
A trusted source.
I would trust her as well.
Yeah,
I'm not going to question.
smart man,
I'm not going to question. I've known her for a long time.
smart man.
My back's to her right now, too. So I don't-
She's smiling, you're
If I'm incorrect on
okay.
anything, I want you to correct me.
No.
Because I don't want,
No.
I don't want to mislead
No.
anybody sitting at this table.
Well, no, I'm just based on,
But the, would that have come down if you weren't in a competition?
the renewal.
Would you have volunteered this reduction in cost if you didn't have to compete for your job? Well, there's no other way to say it but say it, right? So I'm just going to ask you to.
No, when I was asked to come out a couple weeks ago, I went back with my assignment was to see if there was any room for improvement. I know what the town is doing in terms of best practice, speaking with Ed. So every year, it's not an automatic increase. I went back and said, we need to adjust the deductible because a $25,000 deductible across the board it has a negative impact on the town long-term. Initially, when the deductible went up, it definitely caught the attention, I think, of those that were impacting the experience. So I would say each year, we evaluate the renewal based upon your experience. Your experience what drives the increase or the decrease. impacted this too is you moved folks, the workers' comp went down slightly. You guys took out your EMTs, your standalone EMTs out of the workers' comp piece. That class code, it was pretty high code. They're now covered under the IOD policy.
Should they have been covered under that right along?
Each town elects to handle it differently. You had to elect 111M and N, and that's what you guys did, it looks like, back in November. Most towns,
So because we didn't elect it, they would have fell on the workman's comp?
they have the ability to choose where they want their claim, but typically,
Who has the ability to choose?
the EMT,
As to who's going to pay them?
how their claim gets handled. That's per the statute. Most towns, now, there's very, I'm gonna probably put my, we see more paramedics/firefighters than standalone EMTs. So once they're, when, it's tough to say when they go out on a call, are we going to be wearing our firefighter's hat?
Right, we've had this conversation.
Yeah, so that's where we're at.
We get it,
But-
yeah.
To clarify though, Mr. Chairman, if I might, the town did not hire standalone EMTs, paramedics, until this past year.
Okay.
And when we did, the very next town meeting, we put 111M and N, I think they're companion measures.
Yes, yep.
Whatever the alphabet they use in Massachusetts. And town meeting passed it. But prior to that, it appears that we were paying workers' comp for ambulance drivers, but we didn't have any standalone medics. So everyone who worked in the Douglas Fire Department was a firefighter, paramedic covered under 111F. So we should never have paid workers' comp for people who were covered in the fire.
I don't know if that, because the audit should have brought that conversation up.
That's where it was noticed, was on.
The workers' comp policy, sorry, go ahead, Lisa.
That's where it was caught. We caught it on the workers' comp audit that we just recently received. It was listed as ambulance drivers.
So the audit looks to true up the exposure. So if because everyone estimates the payroll, the state sets the class code, sets the rate. We estimate the payroll based upon the audit from 2 years prior for the current year, and that's the number we typically go with. We try to avoid big surprises either way, especially if we overcharge you, or if we undercharged you. Towns want to make sure that the payroll is true, so they can take advantage of the prepayment credit, which makes sense.
The only other question I want to ask them, to be fair, is about the fire truck. So our infamous ladder truck, the 2005 ladder truck,
Heating up all the time.
it is, has a catastrophic incident. Not died on the side of the road, but it got squashed by like a bug, right?
This is
How do you value
an
that?
example. It didn't happen.
Right. Yeah. We still have it. so.
Because the last,
A little
I
flat.
heard some interesting stuff. But
So how would that be valued? It's 20 years old,
20 years, it would be based on actual cash value.
but
2005.
how would you value that, right? Because how would you come up with a value for it? Do we find one that's similar to it, that's advertised as another town's getting rid of, and whatever they're selling it for? Obviously, you're not going to go on Craigslist. I'm just curious what your
I'll
answer
have
was.
to-
I know what it was last time, but.
Well, last time it was different.
I know that was different, and that, it wasn't realistic, but it was a good.
That's why
story.
they
It was a
made-
good storyline.
It was
But.
factual. So I'll have, I
For the
don't want,
benefit of the two members that wasn't here, the statement was that we're going to get a shiny new one if something happened to it, but we're not getting a shiny new one. But I'm just curious as to how you would value that.
I will have to defer to my claims department. I can get the answer back for that 2005 for you.
Yeah.
I don't want to misrepresent.
I asked the same question to the
Yep.
group before you, so I wanted to make sure that you had an opportunity to answer it.
Les?
Does it reflect the depreciated value or trying what you can go out in the marketplace and buy a similarly aged engine.
Similar, but we may,
Probably the two.
correct.
Okay.
We may look at it a little bit differently,
25 bucks.
because I don't know, I could look at the schedule right now to see what we're valuing the truck at.
It's in at 497, and it's under replacement cost
It,
valuation, not actual cash value, so
so that,
kind of contradicting.
we made the change last year for this year. Anything over 10 years is not at replacement cost. So that schedule should reflect it. I would say you defer to the policy that will defer to that.
Yeah,
That-
it's still 7/125.
Yep. No, there is a discrepancy with that, so, correct. It should be, it's at actual, anything over 10 years old now is no longer eligible for replacement costs. So anything from 2015, next year, that's on replacement costs will continue to have it.
You have in your packet here that you provided us, the school board, your public officials liability line item, the deductible there called out. But then you have a school board liability, aren't they? Public officials from?
Two separate pieces. So the school board and similar coverage, so school board liability would cover, wrongful termination, harassment, discrimination claims that come out of the duties and responsibilities, same thing here.
Yeah. Okay. And then I was going through your whole replacement, so you've got an assessed replacement value of the fire station of $1.8 million roughly. But then, my other concern is that you got personal property replacement of $104,000, but you have on the library, I believe it's a personal property of $543,000. I think, I feel like in the fire station, there's more valuable assets such as the equipment, jaws of life and other assets in the building, should there be something, loss and damage.
A couple of things with that. So our blanket limit, the 132 million, that contemplates contents. So it's at full, there's nothing on the building schedule that's listed at actual cash value, so we have a loss. The 132 sits over the location. So we have a tornado hit town today. It's, the 132 is going to take care of town hall. If you have a claim the next day, the 132 is going to respond. Your question regarding jaws of life, specialty items that kind of leave the trucks, leave the building, those are scheduled on the special property, so those items should be listed specifically out. So there's no...
Escaping.
Okay.
Contents, we don't have the software to evaluate that.
Yep.
We would depend on the town to say it's too low or too high.
Yeah.
But your specialty equipment is listed under the special property. Those items should be listed out.
Yeah, I just look at the replacement cost of like the fire station itself is, 1.8 million. I don't think we could get a fire station replacement for that. And there's several others in here that I was kind of surprised at, just looking at the math on those.
So, good point. So if the 132 would respond, the building, it costs more for us to put it back together. So it's full replacement cost up to the blanket policy limit.
Where is that stated in this?
It's in there.
It's in there?
Yeah. But to his point, it's dreadfully low.
Yeah.
We do building evaluations, and I can find out when the last time we did it. It's based on the cost per square foot in construction. So, that said, the property market as a whole is a stress line of coverage. They want to make sure that building values are where they ought to be. So we built in a 2.5% or 2% inflation guard on the schedule every year to jump it up. In addition, we'll come out to do building evaluations every 5 to 7 years to make sure that buildings are captured correctly.
Yeah, and I think that's my point. I'm just concerned, even like the library is under $1 million for replacement costs, and you want to be accurate with what your replacement cost is listed. So that's all.
We may have done that way back in the day just to keep the costs low and underinsure ourselves. I don't know if that's a good practice now.
That adds up to a follow-up question. Can you find out when the last time you did an evaluation?
Yep.
If it was every 5 to 7 years, to find out if it was 7 years ago.
Any questions? Les, you good? I'm good. Ross, Al?
No, I assume we'll have the same situation where we'll, if we come up with questions, we'll make a list to present.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was about 20 minutes ago. I forget the date in which we said we were going to, Wednesday, we were going to have our questions.
You get 'em back
Any
to us by
follow-ups?
the May 2nd.
Gives us both a decent amount of time to ask and answer.
It'll just be one round of questions. It's not going to be going back and forth. We're going to send you one group of questions and answer them.
So my takeaway is confirm when the last building evaluations were done. The hypothetical, the 2005 ladder truck gets squashed by a bug, how are we going to evaluate it?
Squashed like a bug.
Like a bug.
Not by a bug, because that'd be a big bug.
I don't want to get bit by that.
That would fall under a different section.
But the claim that we referenced before was a ladder truck that a telephone pole fell on it, and it was replacement cost then. That probably was the last time we evaluated that. Questions on the IOD program limits?
I mean, that's all statutory in my eye.
Well, the limits that you carry are more robust than other towns your size.
Yeah, I don't want to change that.
We're always recommending, because medical costs are, as we all know, driving are high. Because if the limits, as we say to folks, if you mentioned statutory, correct, so if the limits aren't sufficient, then you, the town, still owns that liability. And our benefit period under the medical is a 10-year period. Or until the limit gets exhausted.
I'm still stuck on the premium dropping. Not that I'm disappointed, but I'm not getting it through my head. So in your follow-up thing, can you just send a little explanation as to how you got that? Because I didn't retain everything that you spit out. You don't have to go through it now, but
okay, appreciate it.
Back. I just want to know how you justify coming down that 22 or 25,000, whoever's math is correct.
I'm going to go with Gene's math.
Oh, you?
No, I'm going with Gene.
You don't have to live in fear if you feel brave enough to say 22.
Him in the door.
I'm going with Gene.
Her number.
You know why she sits there, because that's the only way out.
I've known Gene for a long time, so, yes.
Yeah.
That's all I got, Mr. Chairman.
All right. David, thank you for coming in and
my pleasure. Thanks for the opportunity.
Helping us here to kind of digest this. We will follow up with questions if we have them. And I think at our next meeting, we'll be prepared to discuss amongst our board. In fact, they're all things, and just make a decision that the direction of the town will go.
Should I anticipate having to come back out, or no, at this point? Or is it too early to tell?
You know, I think that would leave that largely to you, to be honest with you. We'll have our questions. If you answer those and you feel comfortable with where you stand, then that's probably fine. If you want to come, I don't know if we'll participate in the proceedings, but see the deliberation. I think that might be important too.
Great.
So.
All right. All Thanks for the opportunity. Okay. Have a good night.
All right, thanks, David.
Happy Easter.
Yeah, Easter, yes. Thanks again. All right, so we knocked off items 5 and 6. Town meeting with the moderator. Did you go get some fresh air, maybe? I will move on to number 8, the BVT Working Group Liaison Discussion. I think Matt and previous had said that there had been some of our sister communities are taking a second look at BVT, and I think we welcome that. In watching Douglas Cable, who does a wonderful job for us. I had identified, or I'm sure if you've watched some finance committee meetings, you would identify a new member who seemed to have engaged considerably in the BVT discussion. So with that, I wonder if the board would be open to appointing Rob Leonardi to this BVT ad hoc town group to represent the town.
Okay. The Finance Committee, is that appointed by the moderator?
He's,
So it does fall under us to do this?
well, this would be representing us,
Yeah,
the town.
okay,
Yeah. But he is,
Yeah, I actually had the luxury of watching Rob in action during that Finance Committee meeting, because I was there that night for capital, and he is excitable. So I would agree with your recommendation. You want a motion on that?
sure,
What is Rob's last name?
I believe Leonardi.
I would make a motion to to appoint Rob Leonardi to the BVP Working Group Liaison discussion.
Second the motion.
Made by Mike, seconded by Les. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you, Rob, for your engagement with that. Whitensville Fish and Game Annual Report for the ABCC people. And I might have...
Jamie.
I don't know if I have anything in my packet for that.
Is it just a change of offices? Is it just a change of offices?
Yeah.
Properties and Deborah.
All right. So we'll entertain a motion to accept the new officers as presented in most people's packets. At least I don't want to pick on you. I'm sure it's here somewhere. Saved by Mike.
Second.
Second by Hal. All those in favor?
Aye.
Item number 10, Beaupre Scrap License Renewal. In our packet is a junk dealer renewal application for Beaupre Scrap. It's complete for our review and approval.
Yeah, the typical thing that we do each year, I would make a motion to approve the license renewal for Beaupre Scrap LLC junk license.
Second.
Made by Mike, seconded by Ross. All those in favor? Aye. It's unanimous. Move on to item number 11, We're taking on some more grant monies. Matt, did we ever come up with a visual for,
Still working on that. We have the data, so the question is how you can see it.
I think,
I know that thermometer thing is the popular thing.
I think a cork board over there with Douglas axes or something like an Ohio State Buckeye, you slap it on there when it's, when it's there. At the end of the year, you know who played well. But these are the things for creative people to figure out. First, on our item number 11, we have a $3,831.57 grant sought after by the fire department for fire safety equipment grant, PPE, boots, gloves, helmets, hoods, accountability boards, electric vehicle disabling plugs. Feels important.
Make a motion to accept the grant for the fire safety equipment grant, round 2.
Made by Mike,
Second.
seconded by
Ross.
by Hal. All those in favor? I'm not choosing.
Just trying to get out.
So, all right, so that's great. Next one is a fire department grant for $4,697.74 for the SAFE program and the senior SAFE grant program. And actually, I'll add another $2,187.06 for the senior SAFE program. So all in, you're looking at 67.
If you're wrong in the number, Jean is in the room,
Yeah.
and she's looking at you.
Carry the
So,
one.
not to exceed $10,000.
Make a motion to approve, to accept the SAFE and the senior SAFE grant program.
Thank you. Made by Mike.
Second.
Seconded by Hal. All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Moderator,
Sir,
good evening.
I'm glad there was a buffer in between all that insurance talk and me, because that's a tough act to follow. With any sort of excitement.
It's town meeting time. You should be able to whip this up in no time.
Yeah, with any luck, I shouldn't even take off my jacket. Oh, Tim, I don't know how graduated in the same class, and you're not needing these, but
Oh,
I am now at the point where, at least this time of night,
You have contacts?
yeah. I'm currently enrolled in a contact lens study.
Next one, he's like,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah, I could suffer through this, but the last meeting that we did this with, it was too painful. So we're gonna jump right into it, if that's all right. Special town meeting. I plan on taking all 4 articles together. I don't see any reason not to. It's mostly just housekeeping, so hopefully we can kind of get that in, get that out. I'm assuming the, go ahead.
Different quantum of vote, Mr. Moderator.
That's fine, because I'm going to go for unanimous consent. So,
what do you mean?
So prior year bills is 90%?
yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah, if we don't get unanimous consent, then, people will be shooting themselves in the foot and getting a longer meeting, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is certainly their choice. And one I welcome if people would like to be heard. I assume that all the increases are similar to previous year increases where we're moving money around because there was extra hours or people hired later in the year and et cetera.
Here comes Gene.
Yes. The short answer is yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, Gene.
Just here, should I be?
So, you accosted me in the hallway. What?
That was
We do have cameras up.
Yeah.
I believe I was providing information
Yes.
in the hallway.
Yes. No, I know. I'm being facetious. You had just said that there was something that we needed to discuss at the meeting, but I didn't quite. So it's the ambulance receipts, is that correct?
Correct. I informed you that right now we're watching the ambulance receipts. They're using it as,
Just bear with me 1 second. Are we talking about Article? Okay.
actually the capital article.
I was going to say, or is it the capital article?
Well, I was notifying him that that article may change at town meeting. Right now, we're using ambulance receipts reserved for a funding source in 3 places. $27,000 on the special, $385,000 on the annual main article, and then $500,000 on the capital article. If I do not have the receipts available by town meeting, something has to be reduced. I talked to both chiefs, and we will reduce the $500,000 for the capital. And we'll still get the ambulance, but we won't get the stretcher or some of the equipment. At this time, we'll go back in the fall town meeting. So the money has to be here before I can transfer. That's the issue.
Okay.
So I was just informing you that could happen.
Yep, and so the only article because even in the let's see, total capital outlay, we have just designated as the capital article.
Correct.
So the only thing that could affect
Is Article 10.
is Article 10. Great. All right, so Articles 1, 2, and 3, we'll do that the same way that we always do, where we'll take the summaries. I will give the Gene disclaimer that while we're talking about the summaries, that is just a placeholder, and what we're passing is the budget as presented in the warrant with all the details. Let's see, then Article 4 gets taken by itself. Article 5, 6, 7, and 8 we will combine, as again, those are housekeeping articles, which are also mostly self-funded. Article 9 is, am I reading this correctly, in that this is basically just the steps with a 2% COLA increase? There's no new contracts or anything like that that need to be, I know, sorry, I'm going really fast.
We added the COA driver that was approved at the fall town meeting, that was added, and we also, Pam Carter retired, and we have an assistant treasurer, a collector now, assistant treasurer collector. So that was added to the chart for the
There's also
annual.
the cook, the COA cook.
And the COA cook. Yeah.
Okay.
So there are a few additions, but no new
there's,
additions.
yeah, but there's not like the overarching, like we just did this contract and so, we're moving stuff around and it's just a couple things here and there. All right, Article 10. Just something that keeps coming up a lot in just different discussions is the roadway paving. And just to be clear, there is a budget for roadway paving. This is in addition to that, because it's something that we identified that we wanted to continue to fund at a greater number than what we were funding, and so that's why it's part of the capital improvement article.
I'd refine that a little bit. The town of Douglas receives a grant from the state under Chapter 90, which is a formula allocation from a bond issued by the state. And we match that number dollar for dollar, set to
Close
the
to
value a few years ago.
it. It was set at 363.
It goes up and down, but 360 is the number we had done that year, because that's what we got from Chapter 90.
Mm-hmm.
And that was started in fiscal 20.
Yeah, it's at least that far back.
So the town has had the free cash resources to be able to contribute to a much more robust paving program. But it's not, when you say it's a budget item, there is no operating budget item for paving.
Okay.
It's a grant.
Okay. And then we're, like you said, we're matching that grant.
Because 360,000, you couldn't get much done.
Right.
By
Because
itself.
Yeah.
Even with the budget that they have, it's a challenge, because most roads are,
What is it, like $1 million a mile now or something like that?
at least.
Rule of thumb.
Yeah, depends. If you go down South Street and you got 47 crossings every 12 feet, it gets quite expensive.
Yeah, I know that's come up in a few town meetings where people have tried to understand that and then wonder why their street isn't being paved, so.
That's all right. We're up to speed on the answer, so it's not a big deal.
So I know the highway building was in, last year's capital. It should have been, I'm trying to think how to say this properly. That one was supposed to come up this year. What was the rationale for it not being moved forward?
It's not ready for prime time, so it doesn't, the proposal lacks the fleshed out detail necessary to give the voters something to vote on. And we're still exploring some options that have come up as a result of our due diligence and as a result of additional conversation amongst the town. I think our predilection has always been to go with a proposal that can win the consensus of the people. It's a goal. Even if we cut costs as aggressively as we can, it will still be an expensive borrow. And it will have to be voted at the ballot as an exclusion, so not just at town meeting, but on the ballot. So to proceed forward with something that we think the town is divided over doesn't bode well for success. So we're still, I think we still have room to do additional analysis to get a better proposal in front of people. So my original plan was to try to do this spring town meeting. Then that slipped to a special, right, before November. That slipped even further. I think we need to start the process, not completely over, but to take the information we've gathered to this point and see if we can't recast the conversation in a way that we engage. What we will do is, well, one more point. Sure. Moderator, I'm sorry to interrupt. Is the Building Facilities Committee is the committee in town that has been charged with the duty of looking at our building stock and making sure that it meets the needs of our departments. And so that's where I intend to keep the process moving at BFCC. And only then, once you have a conceptual design, the select board can support it, we go forward.
Okay. Is this something that you anticipate to get back on the capital improvement calendar?
Well, it's still on the capital improvement calendar, but the cost hasn't been determined as of yet. Right? So this is a working process project, and as the town administrator just said, we're still waiting for some final information to come out on a particular piece of property that we're looking at that was actually approved at town meeting. But we're also looking at other options. The town administrator and myself, as well as Adam Furno, has been aggressively trying to shave this down to something that will actually work and not be a portfolio picture for an architect, for lack of a better description, right? So we're taking the administrator and I are taking an extremely aggressive approach in this and trying to get it to a reasonable ask to the town, right? If we don't believe in it, we can't ask for it. So that's what some of the delay is, but most of it is doing our due diligence to make sure that that piece of property is viable, right? And it may not be. We don't know. We haven't got the final reports in. We're waiting for the last report now is the dam report, right? And if it comes in it's not favorable, then we're going to have to look somewhere else. But we're simultaneously also evaluating different options on it. So if that helps you with your answer.
The water ski pond. So, yeah, no,
you can go up there and water ski, yeah.
I was curious, just
If you fall, you can walk back to shore.
That's actually how most water ski tournaments work.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess I expect, since it had slipped off of this fiscal year, I guess I just expected it to wind up getting slotted into one of the future years.
This is where it's stated.
Right, but that's for the fiscal year 2026.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess my thought is that, whether it gets slotted into fiscal year 2027 or 2028, that it would get slotted back into one of the improvements.
Yeah, it hasn't slid down yet.
Yeah, we haven't carried it, so we're carrying it 1 year at a time. That's why you see it on the most recent year.
Yeah.
At the bottom of 26, Highway Department to be determined.
Okay.
That's what.
So in other words, you're saying it hasn't necessarily.
Yeah, we're not just going to plug it in every single year going down, because it'd be like the boy that cried wolf, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It's just nobody's going to pay attention. But it is in the forefront to.
We have not given up on this project. It's got to get done.
Not by any means. There's a tremendous amount of work going on behind the scenes trying to get this to a doable project. So we'll get there. Just have to make sure that we cross all our Ts.
Article 12.
11?
Would you like me to ask something on Article 11?
I thought you were going in order.
Ask him a tough one.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, no, I'm just going on the ones that I would have questions on or some guidance. If
You're on 12. You're on 12.
Yeah, if you have any questions on Article 11, I'll be happy to, but.
No, we're good.
So Article 12, what are we basing this on? I know in the past when we've kind of had some boilerplate bylaws that they come from somewhere, so I'm just kind of curious on this one. I know this has kind of been through the ringer a few times.
So, yeah, just speaking on Article 12 here. So we formed a.
So we're on Article 11.
Sorry, 12. We formed a subcommittee made up of all different board members from different boards. Spent 5 to 6 months really just ripping, starting with actually a fresh article and building it from there. We leveraged a community that already adopted it and made some changes in that direction. and did a thorough review from end to end. Also, the map itself, previous stormwater MS4 bylaws were town-wide, and we really worked with our consultant to zone in only on the town drainage areas in the town community, and those properties that would be for redevelopment and efforts and stuff like that are over an acre.
And that's this map here. It's the stuff in red.
Yep. And that's related to the town drainage and water that would go to the waters of the US by definition from our MS4 consultant. But we spent quite a few times going over that. They're actually improving the map. The map is actually comes from Highway, and they have it all documented for their permit.
So this is my age-old issue with maps and town meeting. How do we let the residents know that's affecting them or not in any sort of efficient manner? Because by the time you even get this, like, I don't know where my house is. You know, I don't know if you guys know where your house is. You can't find on that map. So,
I can fold space.
yeah. So how do we do that? Like how
do you? So everybody's given the FinCom newsletter that goes out to all the homes. That's one.
No, I have it.
Yep.
I printed it. I still can't read it.
So it's mainly if you have a storm drain in front of your property that the town maintains and
beautiful
covers. And this permit is related to that storm drain that drains into the Mumford River. And this is what the permit is. So we have to have a map saying, yep, these are where all our storm drains are. You know, so if there's any disturbance in those for redevelopment, you'll trigger a review process. So if Keith decides to repave his whole 2-acre lot, or how many other acres you own, but over an acre, you decide to pave it, you're going to create, a trigger for review. That's it.
So within how, so that to me is a perfect illustration of if you have a storm drain, you're subject to it.
Also, this is a federal requirement, MS4, so the town had to meet a requirement to have this done.
Sure, and that's actually, that's going to have another question in just a couple articles about that, the federal requirement of it. It's just more a matter of, and this is a broader discussion of the maps that we give people. Right, the whole point of the warrant is to give people a warning that this could or could not affect them, and then they decide whether or not they want to participate, in the legislative process of town meeting. So when you have, when there's certain maps here where you can say, all right, like that's pretty obvious where this is in town. This is less obvious. This is, I don't know, I was doodling.
Both warrants and the FinCom flyer.
Well, we have posted a large PDF file of the map that somebody can zoom in on.
Yeah.
With street names or without?
With street names.
This one, I don't know if they can get street names on it.
So the map has been out in all of our meetings as we've been kind of carving through the map. So I think a person familiar with their streets or locations and stuff like that can identify that. But it's not related to the property. It's really related to the drainage that's in the street and the maintenance of that drainage that's in the street area. Towns that have adopted a town-wide blanket with MS4, Auburn, Charlton, Sutton, and a couple in the Boston area have been getting overwhelmed with needless applications because they don't have any town drainage, on their street or in their backyard and everything like that. So this is a better situation for the town. That's why we spent the time to vet it out and to go through it thoroughly. And so here we are.
Do we have a short summary of how it affects the townspeople? I think that's what Keith is asking for.
I think Matt knows what I'm asking. It's not necessarily like, is this a good idea? It's not,
No, just a short summary of how it affects, how is it going to affect people?
No, so there's two separate questions, Mr. Chairman, if I may answer the moderator's question.
you have, do I have enough information to decide whether or not I want to attend town meeting? Which is separate and apart from what meeting do we present at the location of town meeting, so that town meeting attendees who have a question could see a map that's big enough to read. That question is easily answered. So we have a plotter here that prints a really large map. In order to shade these lots, someone had to have a list of the lots to shade, right? So we could work, we have time, we have almost a month, 3 weeks, to tie back the lot numbers to a street address and just publish that list. If your address is 120 Gilboa, are you in or outside of the stormwater management?
Yeah.
Getting
that's really the point of it is the warning, and so that if somebody looks at a map, like I said, I mean, if you really spend a lot of time with this in a pair of readers, you could probably figure out if it affects you or not, but it's difficult. And then when you transpose this onto a slide that goes from portrait to landscape, it's like, yeah, look, there's a Rorschach test up there, and you can decide if you're right or not. So,
Yeah, but Keith, you could have Matt's PDF, not necessarily in your PowerPoint, but you could bring that up, and I mean, I don't know if you want everyone to say, move to the left, to the right, zoom in. That might be a little much, but
even
on the website,
the addresses of almost like when you're voting, right? Where you could say these address, from this to this is affected by this.
I'm a little concerned that we turn that around in 3 weeks.
I think the work's already been done. This is a shape file that has shading associated with certain lots.
Right.
So there might be a question for Nick, not so much our staff here, but for Nick who's
To pull the information across.
MS4 consultant. How did you create the map? You had to have a lot number and a shape that you shaded. So just give us the lot numbers and we can cross-reference. So you break this into digestible pieces. It looks like, with the benefit of my cheaters, right? That just about all of the Pond Street development is in here, right?
Yep.
So I can take every Pond Street address. I don't have to torture this. If all of Pond Street's in the area, then we'll just take all the Pond Street addresses and put them on the list.
Well, I mean,
it's crazy over here.
To simplify it, you can say 3 to 25 Pond Street.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
It's important to make sure everybody's aware of the fact that you're meeting the minimum requirement. This isn't something that we're trying to create. We have to do at least this.
Yep.
Not my job.
Yep.
Right?
No. And the other important thing is that the only time you would trigger it is if you're disturbing over an acre of land.
Yeah. And that could come up in discussion of how does this go? But kind of what Matt was alluding to is my concern is, are you properly warned of what's coming up?
We could have a one-page handout showing the impacted addresses too.
I think I have a formula.
Yeah, and I do like the website idea if that's available.
So once we have the list, we put the list on the website along
with the map. Yep. So Article 13.
You're not going to do 11?
I'm not used to skipping around.
You watch. There's going to be a 3-hour conversation on Article 11 now. Please no.
But you
I will have more than a little egg on my face. So I get the rationale behind it is to assist the warehouse owner. How does this do that? I'm completely not familiar with that, so this is why I'm asking, so I have some background to know what the bounds of the conversation will be.
So there's a negotiation with a tenant for the warehouse that has reached the final stage. The tenant requires additional parking. These lots, or it's actually one lot with a dotted line, directly abut the existing warehouse property and its roadways. So this would be, the buildable portion would be the additional parking that they want assurances of before they sign the lease. So we're usually so top secret about this whole thing, and we really are at the last
It's just at that
step. Town meeting is what is required to get the authorization to sell this property, and then we would go through the usual Chapter 30B, Section 16 process of selling excess property.
And just to be clear, because again, maps, this is the cubes, is that correct, or?
Cubes at Gilboa.
Okay.
And this hash line that goes right through the center of the drawing is the Uxbridge Douglas town line. So all of this property that the town of Douglas owns is in Uxbridge.
Okay. Article 15, what's the rationale for changing the strip? Is there a plan for usage?
So, Mr. Chairman, I view this as constituent service. The landowner in Sutton owns a sizable piece of property. He's got frontage on this private road, Brown Road. That's probably his best frontage to develop his lot. But because that tiny strip is in Douglas and it's zoned industrial, it causes a problem with land use regulation where he'd be crossing industrially zoned land to gain access to build a residential subdivision.
In Sutton.
In Sutton, which is pretty much a no-no in the world of zoning. We can take this RA district and extend it all the way up the strip and alleviate him of that problem without upsetting the industrial land's access to Brown Road as industrial land, because the road is a natural dividing place between two zones. But this is purely, you got to feel for somebody whose whole life savings is in their real estate, and they find
there's a strip
barrier. That's in some places it's only 10 feet wide.
Article 16, would my assumption that all of the town's requirements for accepting the street have been made?
That's correct. We have one last inspection that is just to fix a crack. Everything else is fixed. Everything else is done.
But we are prepared to pass this over
Yeah.
if need be.
Filled in over.
Yeah. Okay. Article 17, does this funding have any relationship to the stormwater bylaw that we are discussing?
Mr. Chairman? Yes. So it's all part of compliance with the NIPD's permit to dump stormwater into the Mulford River. So the bylaw was a necessary condition to be in compliance. Then we do annual process of making sure all of our catch basins are cleaned out, the contents are tested on random samples. We document all of the work that we do, and we don't have town staff for that, so we hire a consultant for $40,000 a year. This really is a recurring item, and I think the reason why we don't put it in the operating budget is because not all the work will be completed during the fiscal year, so it needs to carry over. Gina's nodding her head. I finally got one right. I'm so excited.
And everybody missed it.
That's why we do it.
I think I'm getting beat up tonight.
No, I think you're doing good.
Yeah, you are.
Don't take away my joy.
Yeah, you are being respected as the arbiter of truth. Correct.
But that's what that is.
Okay. And just out of curiosity, if the stormwater bylaw does not pass, does that have any effect on Article 17?
No.
Not on Article 17. It has an impact on the town, but not on Article 17.
Okay. I think that was all of questions I had, other than just the personal curiosity of what the elevated water storage tank is going to look like. Are we talking like old school, like
Alabama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there's going to be a tiger on it and no one should ever paint over it. Oh, third rail. Oh, yeah.
He snuck it in.
Yeah.
Bring back the artist.
We do make ample use of the tiger now. It's gotten more publicity. It's actually, I think it's helped it gain traction forever as a symbol of the town. Right now, it's just a standard industrial design. If you ask me to write my exam book right now, I'd say the best way to win community acceptance of it is to have a committee that hears people's thoughts about what should be on it.
Okay. So it is truly just like
Paint
an
is more money.
elevated, like.
Paint is more money, and
Yeah.
paint is more maintenance.
Wild, Wild West. You can actually like shoot a leg out and it will tip over.
Sweet. I've seen that movie a few times. As long as we don't store molasses in it.
Long story short, it can be anything you want it to be. All we're doing is specking out plain old industrial design.
So how, what did it say, 250, how tall, how visible will this be?
150 feet.
It's 150.
It's not very.
It holds 330,000 gallons.
1,000 gallons.
This is the study, right?
So we did what was called the balloon study. So you take a large balloon, you bring it all the way up to the altitude that it's going to be the top of the building, and did a whole walk around, the consultant did, not us, about all the different properties in town where you could see the balloon. There's very few. Very few. There's a stand of pine trees there that's pretty tall, mature.
Yeah. That is everything I had. Anything for me?
I just had a question. I thought the Finance Committee voted not to recommend the stabilization account.
That's correct. Did they get a typo on that?
Am I reading that wrong? Article 20?
No, it says 1 yes and 5 no's. Read the parentheses, do that.
Yeah, it's written, I think you actually made a comment about that.
Yeah, because they cast a vote in a positive motion.
All motions must be made in.
Correct.
And so, do they recommend it? 1 said yes and 5 said no.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still don't love the way that's worded, but it's ultimately not my flyer, so.
So I understand the positive motion, but this indicates that it failed. Yeah. No, I know, I'm not, listen, I'm not, you saw how many typos I had today, I don't even want to know.
Yeah. As Gene kind of alluded to, it is something that we've encountered in the past. They do not recommend it, but I think the way Gene was describing it, the motion is always to recommend. This motion happened to fail with a vote of 1 to 5.
As I sit and read this now, it makes perfect sense. First blush, I was like, typo.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
nice job, you got it.
I will talk with the Finance Committee about possibly changing how that's worded in the future.
How about you talk to us, and then we can help the Finance Committee.
Okay, don't word it that way.
Well, we didn't word it that way. It
would just be vote to not recommend.
I believe we were told not to do that.
By the AG or who?
Then it would be the vote to recommend failed.
Oh, we could do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we could put the vote, we could do that.
Yeah.
For future.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay.
Wordsmith.
Yeah. So there you have it.
Awesome.
There's our town meeting.
But it's clearer, right? It's
Yes, if we
clearer.
say it that way, that is clearer.
Yeah. So if you knew the vote and you didn't, thought it was a typo, I don't want someone to say that they recommended it either.
Right.
Since we're splitting hairs, is it clearer or less murky? It's either clear or it's not.
I think it should say that.
You can't be a little bit pregnant.
Yeah, I think there,
Sorry.
I think there's some higher level issues of putting, not recommend in there that I think we're trying to walk around some landmines. So, whatever I said, rewind the camera, I think.
Yeah,
that
voted
works.
to recommend failed.
Yeah, the vote to recommend failed. With the vote of 1 to,
Yeah.
yeah. Awesome.
Or could you just leave out the wording and put laughing emojis?
I had another idea for emojis, but we'll keep that off.
Are you going
Are you going to make that?
Are you going to state that at town meeting or
Yeah, I will,
word it? that way?
as long as Finance Committee is okay with that wording, then I will edit it on the slide so that it doesn't just say recommend. Anything else?
What are you looking for us in regards to proponent speeches or anything of these?
I'm hoping that we do it the same way we have been the last few years. I think that's been working well. If a proponent speech is needed, then we'll bring someone up for a proponent speech. You guys give me a list of who to ask to come up, and we'll tap that person. If we don't need to, then we'll move along.
Okay.
So the overarching theme of what I tried to do at town meeting is to spend time on the things that people want to spend time on without getting bogged down with procedural stuff that doesn't need
Us.
a lot of air.
Okay. So maybe at our, can we do this May 5th? Should we divide this up now, or are we going to meet again?
You have to, we don't have another meeting
Yeah.
until the town meeting.
Right. All right, we should probably go through that then, just as a,
I am going to excuse myself. I'm going to give my dog some more meds.
oh no, everything all right?
He had spinal surgery on Monday, so.
Oh, man.
I'll be passing around a hat at town meeting.
This,
Speaking of medical deductions,
What's that? Yeah,
You're going to get pet insurance.
we have pet insurance.
Okay.
And it covers a fair amount. Not all of it.
Not all of it. Not all of it. Here's for free.
thank you, Keith.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, so I do think we should do that. I don't think we have to do the special, but everyone's here, so we can't stick unwanted articles on someone's lap, but let's go through this and identify a presenter.
away from that, the finance committee was doing most of them, and
Well, we know that there's some that we won't have to necessarily touch, but I do think it's helpful to have someone in case there are questions.
What I did a few years ago was put together a list of just names that Keith could reach out to if it came up, right? Just identify a person that can speak on the thing, if that's what you're...
Well, I think that's what we're looking to do, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll just start, I'll do 1, and 4 will be BVT.
5, 6, and 7 would be answered by the appropriate department.
Yeah. 8 is recurring business. That's just an easy one. I'm waiting for someone to say I'll do it.
I'll speak on 8.
Thank you, Ross. 9, that's pretty straightforward. Ross Wells.
Les wants 11.
Oh, I gotta do 12 probably.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
Les,
but you're going to be up there, you might as well just do them both.
yeah, in all honesty, Les, you should do 11 and 12. All right, I'm very excited about that. I think that's an important policy decision by the town. Mike, you do 16, or, excuse
No,
me,
I did
10? Yeah, that's,
Yeah, we'll wait until you get to 16.
the contact lens thing failed me there. Article 10 is Mike.
Note that down on the study.
I will.
Who was 9? I'm sorry.
9, Ross. Did I just appoint you, or did you say you'd do it?
I was 8.
He did 8.
No, he was 8. What was
8.
9?
The personnel bylaw.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Yeah, that'll be straightforward.
I can.
Town owned land,
Do that 13.
yeah, hell, good. Board of Health permit for the cap repair, that'll be the Board of Health if needed, right? Zoning map,
We can tell them.
Brown Road. Wants to be a constituent hero. Les?
What, 15?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And being the new guy, why don't you do 16 too?
Depends on if the crack is filled. There, road's fixed, right? Should be done.
$17, it's pretty straightforward, I'll do that. Then I'll do the holiday one. Giving away 19 and 20.
Well, somebody going to be there for the water department?
Yeah.
Yeah, so water.
Water.
That. That's 20.
The BBT.
Stable.
You almost want FinCom to do that.
Rob?
Yeah.
Yeah, have Rob.
Yeah, Rob.
Yeah, good. Motion made by Lisa.
Yeah.
All in favor?
There we go.
Welcome to the club.
Just in case Rob's watching, he knows who to.
Lisa, your first motion. All right, that's great. Let's move on. Item,
I lost my agenda. I don't even know what's on there.
meeting minutes, number 12.
Pass.
Passed on that. We're not talking lights tonight. Town administrator report, Matt.
Everything we've talked about tonight has been what I've been working on. There is only one thing I want to talk about for the record, which is my predilection or preference not to be involved in Selectman Savage from Hopedale's effort to discuss BVT further. And it's not that I'm not supportive of the effort, I think it really is a conversation that needs to be had. But I think in terms of the analysis, I'm past it. Right, so I've heard all these arguments, I've heard all these complaints, and I've arrived at my own independent conclusion that the fundamental issue is the agreement. And until we have sufficient support from our fellow communities to pursue amendments to the agreement, we have no leverage. And so, I mean, I say it all the time, as a trained negotiator, that's all I'm looking for. What do I have to get the other side to come to the table and make a deal? And as long as they have that agreement with that school committee structured the way it is, and the extraordinary number of votes you have to pull together to defeat a budget or to hold something back, you don't have any leverage. The only way you could get leverage, and I'm actually all for it, and I won't pull any punches about it, is to pursue significant litigation against the school for its admission policies, violating certain societal norms in modern America. You don't have to be too smart to know what I'm pointing at. But if there is no interest group or advocacy group willing to have, that has standing to represent the students harmed or allegedly harmed by that admissions policy, if there's nobody to carry the water and push us forward, then we have to go back to the agreement and see what amendments we would seek. So at the appropriate time, if there is sufficient support in that wider group of the communities, to have an actual brass knuckle conversation with the leadership at BVT, I would put some of my time towards supporting that effort. Unless and until we get to that point, it's just my personal view, nothing is going to happen, and I have a lot to do for the town of Douglas, and my time is better spent here working on things for the town than being off at meetings during the day or at night with folks who are just trying to get organized around some ideas that we already fleshed out 7 years ago in finance committee meetings. It's not to be a Debbie Downer about it, I don't think it's a good use of time. So that's why you'll see me take a back seat to it.
No, and I support that, and I think,
Come of it.
you know, Rob will put his own brain to work on that, but it's probably behooves us to just spend a little time with him to let him know what the solution needs to be, so he could potentially advocate for that after he challenges them on a number of things, including unfunded liabilities and a wave of pension costs that no one really seems to want to tackle.
That's all I had. That's all I want to say there with the administrator's report.
Thank you. Any items not reasonably anticipated 48 hours in advance of today's meeting? There are none. And we are going into Rydell Road discussion, I believe, executive session.
Well, I'll make a motion to enter into executive session for discussion of interest in real property at Rydell Road, after which we will reconvene into open session for the sole purpose of adjournment.
Motion's been made by Ross. Seconded by Mike. Roll call vote.
Smith, aye.
Davis, aye.
Stevens, aye.
Good.
Bone and I.
Patrick, aye. No, we just sit here to see which way